Good afternoon. Welcome to Southwestern University's open enrollment meeting. My name is Stephanie McCullough, and I'll be walking you through your benefits for 2023. First off, this is your open enrollment period. So the one time a year you get to look at all of your options and decide what plans you want to participate on and who you want to cover on those plans. The system is open up now and will be open through November 14th for you to log in and make those elections. Please remember that all employees must log in and make elections for 2023. Once you do so, all of your decisions will go into effect on January 1st, and then you'll be locked into that decision for all of 2023. So in order to make any changes during the middle of the year, you have to have what's called a qualifying event. And those are things like marriage, divorce, the birth of a child. If your spouse were to lose or gain coverage somewhere else, that would allow you to make changes to your coverage here. The only rule associated with that is that you only have 30 days to let us know. So as soon as you have one of these events occur, make sure you get with the HR team and get that change submitted within 30 days. And just as a reminder, that's an IRS rule, not our rule. So we really don't have the flexibility to make exceptions. So let's look at the benefits this year. You can see a list of our carriers, and the good news is we're not making any changes. So medical and your virtual visits will continue with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Dental will remain with MetLife, vision with VSP, and your flexible and health savings accounts will remain with WEX. As a reminder, you guys have access to 3 medical plans. You have a high deductible health plan and then 2 copay options to choose from. All 3 plans utilize Blue Cross's national PPO network, so same network of doctors for all 3 options. They also all 3 cover your preventive care at 100%. So your annual physicals, well woman visits, well child care. Basically, if the doctor's coding it as preventive, you won't pay anything for it on all 3 medical plans. As a reminder, the high deductible health plan has all services except that preventive care going towards your deductible, where you'll have a fixed dollar amount or copay on the base and buy-up copay options for your office visits and prescription drugs. The health savings account or high deductible plan gives you the option to open up a health savings account and will also cost less out of your paycheck. So let's look at the benefits themselves, and we are not making any changes this year. So it's the same 3 plans you have this year. No changes to deductibles or copays or anything like that. On the buy-up PPO plan, as a reminder, you have a $30 copay for your primary care visits and then a $40 copay for your specialist visits. Any lab or x-ray that they do during that visit will be covered by that copay. And then any more serious items, MRIs, CAT scans, surgery, you're hospitalized for something, all of those expenses will go towards your deductible. So on this plan, the buy-up plan, your deductible is $750. So you would pay the first $750 of any of those types of expenses. After that, the plan will start paying 70% and you'll be responsible for 30%. There is a stopping point, right? You're not going to have to pay that 30% forever. And your out-of-pocket maximum, or I like to call this your worst case scenario, is $3,500. So that $3,500 is going to include your $750 deductible. It will include any copays, whether office visits or prescription copays, and any 30% coinsurance. Once you've filled that bucket up, you would then be covered at 100% for the remainder of the calendar year. Your prescriptions on this plan aren't changing. It's $15 for generic medications, $25 for preferred brand name medications, and then $50 for non-preferred. If you're taking a specialty medication, you'll pay 25% of the cost, up to $500 a month or $500 a prescription. The base plan, again, no changes on this plan as well, works exactly the same way. So you'll have a $40 copay for your primary care visits and a $50 copay for your specialists. And then any more serious items are going to go towards a deductible. And on this plan, the deductible is $1,500. So you're responsible for the first $1,500 of those major items. Then the plan will start paying 70%, you pay 30%, until you hit that worst case scenario of $5,500. So works the same way as the buy-up, but it will cost you a little less out of your paycheck each month. The prescriptions on this plan are $15 for generics, $35 for preferred brand name medications, and $75 for the non-preferred brand name. Specialty medications are covered the same at that 25% up to $500 per prescription. And then finally, we have the high deductible health plan. And this option has no copays, and that doesn't mean things are free, right? It means you're going to pay that full negotiated cost that Blue Cross has with the provider until you've hit your deductible. So any office visits, prescriptions, lab work, surgeries, whatever it is you're having done except for your preventive care will go towards your $3,000 deductible. Once you've hit that $3,000, the plan will then pay 80% and you'll be responsible for 20% until you hit the worst case scenario of $5,000. So on this plan, you pay the $3,000 up front, then you share 80-20. And once it totals up to $5,000, you'll be covered at 100% for the remainder of the year. If you're covering a dependent on this plan, the way these deductibles work is it is a true $6,000 deductible. However, no person in your family will ever meet more than the 3. So if one person gets sick, they're going to hit $3,000 and then be covered at 80%. And the rest of the family will work towards hitting that second $3,000 deductible. Or as a family, maybe you have 6 people in your family and you each hit 1,000. At that point, you would have hit the $6,000 family deductible and all go to the 80% coverage. All right, so the question we get asked the most is, which plan is right for me? You know, we have 3 options, which one should I choose? And I can't answer that. You know, there's so many things that go into it. Consider how you use the plan. Are you at the doctor's all the time? Do you take a lot of expensive medications? How much does it cost out of your paycheck to choose this plan option? What coverage does your spouse have, right? So they might have a plan and it might be best for you to be on their plan or for them to be on yours, or sometimes it works out to where it's best for you each to be on separate plans. And then really what's important to you in a medical plan? Is it just getting your preventive care done, or do you really want to have that tax advantage health savings account to save for the future? I have a couple of examples here to kind of show you how claims are paid on each option. And just know that you guys can do this yourself. You know, you can kind of pull some of your current claims and put them in these same scenarios and really figure out which plan might be best. We offer 3 plans because there is no right plan for everyone, right? So even though the high deductible health plan comes out ahead in both of these examples, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right plan for everyone. So definitely, I like to say, do the math and figure out which one is going to be best for you and your family. So in this example, the employee needs to have knee surgery. So this would be the same, even, you know, any big surgery or hospital event, it will kind of look like this on all 3 plans. In this instance, they see their specialist, then they have the surgery, they have physical therapy after the surgery. So obviously pretty simple example. If you actually had surgery, you would have a lot more bills come in. So in this case, the specialist office visit is $250. That's what the doctor is charging Blue Cross. On the high deductible health plan, it goes towards your deductible, right? So you can see the cost to the employee would be $250. On the other 2 options, it's just the specialist copay, so either $50 or $40 for that service. Then they go in for surgery, right? You're going to get a charge from the facility, which is where you're having the surgery performed, and a charge from the physician who performs the surgery. I have those both set at $8,000, so they're both going to send an $8,000 claim in to Blue Cross. You can see on the high deductible plan, your deductible applies, right? Because it does for everything. So you've already met $250 from that specialist visit, and then you have the surgery. That $8,000 claim comes in, you owe $2,750 because now you've hit your $3,000 deductible. You then owe the balance of that $8,000 bill, right? You've paid $2,750 of it, that's your deductible. Now you owe 20% of the rest, which would be another $1,050. Then you have the claim come through for the physician, another $8,000 claim comes through. Well, you've already met your deductible and some of your coinsurance. So now you just owe another $950 for that bill. And now you've met your out-of-pocket maximum or worst case scenario of $5,000. The other two plans, it's going to work similar, right? This is still going to go towards the deductible on those plans. So you can see either the $1,500 or $750 deductible, the 30% coinsurance, what that equates to. And then on all three options, you're hitting that worst case scenario. So this is kind of the worst case scenario example. At the end of the year, you can see what they paid out of pocket of $5,000 on the high deductible plan versus $5,500 on the base plan or $3,500 on the buy-up. But then you have to take into account what comes out of your paycheck to be on this plan. So the premium that you pay out of your paycheck, and this is for an employee only, is $0 for the high deductible health plan. It's $587 a year if you choose the base plan, and $1,838 if you choose the buy-up. Take into account that Southwestern also contributes to health savings account if you choose the high deductible health plan. So you would subtract that $1,200 out, and the actual annual cost for the three plan options would be $3,800 on the high deductible plan, $6,087 on the base plan, and $5,338 on the buy-up plan. So this next scenario is someone that's healthy, no chronic conditions, goes and gets their physical done, takes some monthly medication, and then gets sick once during the year with a sinus infection. So uses a virtual visit for that, and then gets 2 more medications to treat that condition. So on the high deductible health plan, you can see again, preventive care is covered at 100%, so no charge for that. And then their allergy medication is $95. So every time they go into the pharmacy, they're going to pay them $95. At the end of the year, that annual cost would total up to $1,140. They get sick. They know they have a sinus infection. It's kind of easy. They're going to use virtual visits to treat it because it's cheaper and easier to access their doctor that way. The visit for MD Live is $49. That's going towards their deductible. And then they pick up 2 more medications, paying the full cost of those. On the base and buy-up plans, you can see it's a copay for everything, right? So $75 non-preferred prescription copay or $50 non-preferred prescription copay, $10 for the virtual visits, and then $15 and $35 or $15 and $25 for those additional medications. So at the end of the year, on the high deductible plan, they paid out $1,299 versus $960 versus $650. Add in the premium, subtract out Southwestern's HSA contribution, and the actual cost for this employee at the end of the year was $99 on the high deductible plan versus $1,547 versus $2,488. So again, in both of these examples, the high deductible health plan came out ahead. However, again, please look at your own situation and make sure that you choose the plan that's best for you and your family. If you take a really expensive medication, sometimes the high deductible health plan is not the right option. Payroll deductions, what everyone's been waiting to hear, right? And the good news is we're not making any changes. So what you pay now for your medical benefits, it will be the same in 2023. And that's on all 3 plans and for all tiers. All right, so I mentioned virtual visits briefly in my example, and just to remind everyone, it's an easy way to access care. They're available 24/7. It's certified professional doctors that are there, and then they can call a prescription in for you depending on what you're sick with. General health, allergies, asthma, sinus infections, rashes. I used it for strep throat. I had to hold the phone up to my throat and got diagnosed that way. Pink eye. All of those are going to be $49 if you choose the high deductible health plan. And then it's that $10 copay if you're on one of the copay options. Another thing I like to remind people of is that behavioral health is also an option through MD Live. So you can talk to a counselor or therapist, or even get an appointment with a psychiatrist through MD Live, which There's a shortage of these types of providers right now, so this is a really great way if you're having a hard time finding someone in the community. Just know that since it does go towards your deductible, on the HSA plan, counselors and therapists would be $100. That goes towards your deductible, and then a psychiatrist would be $200. And even though that's expensive, it's still cheaper than seeing one in person. All right, so one of the reasons to choose that high deductible health plan is that it makes you eligible to open up a health savings account. And a health savings account is a tax advantaged account in 3 different ways, right? It comes out of your check pre-tax, any earnings are tax-free, and as long as you're using it to spend on medical, dental, and vision expenses, you'll never be taxed on that money. It rolls forward year to year, so you're never at risk of losing the money in the account. And it's there for you to spend in future years, right? It's a savings account for your healthcare. There are a couple of eligibility requirements. The first is that you must be enrolled in the high deductible health plan. That's easy. We're not going to let you sign up for this if you choose one of the copay plans. You also may not be covered by another non-qualified medical plan. So for example, if your spouse works somewhere else and you're also on their medical plan, you would need to drop off of that before you could contribute to your savings account. Medicare and TRICARE would disqualify you as well. Those count as other coverage. And then finally, you may not participate in a medical flexible spending account. Again, we're not going to let you sign up for the one here. However, if your spouse works somewhere else and has the medical FSA, you have to wait until their plan year is ended before you could contribute to your health savings account here. And I know that sounds crazy. It's their job, their money, you're not touching it. But the way the IRS designed these plans is that you can use the money in these accounts for any of your dependents. They don't need to be on your medical plan. So, for example, if your spouse works somewhere else and has that FSA, they could use those dollars for you even though you're not on the medical plan. So as a family, the IRS has determined that you can only have one or the other, either the HSA or the FSA. As far as what you can spend the money on, it's pretty endless. So it's defined by Section 213D of the IRS code, and it's a really long list. So what's easier to tell you is what's not covered. And those are things like cosmetic items, so like teeth whitening or cosmetic surgeries. Anything like that would be ineligible, but what you can use it on is pretty endless. So if the doctor is telling you need it for a medical reason, you can use your health savings account to pay for it. Also keep in mind that there are some things that are not covered by the medical plan that you could still use your pre-tax dollars to pay for. So things like bariatric surgery or infertility treatment, different alternative care like acupuncture, those you could use your health savings account to pay for, even though your medical plan does not cover them. How much can you contribute? So this amount gets indexed up each year. For 2023, it will be $38.50 for an individual and $77.50 if you're covering any family members. If you're age 55 or older, you can contribute an additional $1,000 each year as a catch-up contribution. Don't forget that Southwestern contributes to your account, right? This is a lot of money that they're putting in there for you. If you're just covering yourself on the plan, they're going to contribute $100 a month into your savings account, or $1,200 a year. And then if you're covering any dependents, you'll get $200 a month, or $2,400 a year. Keep in mind that the amount that Southwestern contributes on your behalf does count towards that maximum. So if you're trying to totally max out your whole contribution, the max you could set aside would be either $2,650 or $5,350, because the amount they put in counts towards that $38.50 and $77.50. Another great thing about these accounts is that you can change your contribution at any point during the year. So if you sign up and maybe you decide to do $100 a month, and after a few months, you're like, oh, I know I have a surgery coming up, I need to increase my deduction. You can do that. You can increase it, decrease it, stop it, start it at any point during the year. The account will be open through WEX, and you'll be able to manage your account online. So You can see what interest you're earning. You can get requested disbursement to reimburse yourself. You can also look at the investment funds that they have. So after you have $1,000 in your account, you can actually invest in mutual funds and things like that. Keep in mind that it is also your responsibility to make sure what you spend the money on is an eligible item. So if you're ever audited by the IRS, they're going to come knocking and say, hey, you're being audited, lucky you. It looks like you also have a health savings account. And in 2023, you withdrew $1,000 from your health savings account. We need to see $1,000 worth of eligible receipts. So whether it's a shoebox or file on your computer or whatever it is, make sure you're setting aside the proof that you spent that money on a qualified item. One thing I like to remind people of is that your explanation of benefits that you get from Blue Cross Blue Shield that shows how a claim was processed, that counts as an eligible receipt. So at the end of the year, I usually log on to my Blue Cross account and I download all of my explanations of benefits and I stick them in my tax folder just so that I'm covered on anything that I might have spent that year. Right, so another thing about health savings account is that if you're participating on this plan, you really should let your retirement planner or tax advisor know. It's like a 401k, but with a medical spending card attached to it. So at any given time, you can access those funds for your healthcare needs, but it's still going to allow you to earn money. It's going to roll forward year to year. You can invest it in mutual funds and your earnings are not taxed. Once you enroll in Medicare, you can no longer contribute to the account, but you can always spend the money on your out-of-pocket medical expenses and never be taxed. So it's a really great way to save for the future because once we retire, we tend to have some medical expenses, right? So definitely keep this in mind and make sure you talk to your retirement planner on how this fits into the big picture. All right, so the flexible spending account is for those of you that are choosing one of the copay plans. The healthcare FSA is, again, for those choosing the base or buy-up copay plans. This is a use it or lose it account. So unlike the health savings account that rolls forward, this plan you need to be a little more conservative, right? Because if you set aside the maximum, which is $3,050 for 2023, you need to be able to spend it in 2023, right? So don't make up a surgery or something that might happen to you. Make sure it's a known expense. But it is still great you can set aside pre-tax money up to $3,050 and it's immediately available in January for you to spend that full amount. It is use it or lose it. So make sure that you set the right amount aside. You can use this on your dependents. They do not need to be on the medical plan here. And then you will have a 2.5-month grace period at the end of the year. So if, let's say, right now you're participating and you have about a couple $100 left in your account that you're not going to be able to spend, you will have through March 15th of next year to incur and be reimbursed for claims from this year. So definitely just, I say don't plan for that, but you do get a little bit of extra time if you happen to, have some money left over. The dependent care FSA is for all employees. It's not tied to your medical plan. And this is for work-related child care. And so if you have, kids under the age of 13 that are in daycare, after school care, before school care, you can set aside up to $5,000 per family per year to reimburse yourself with pre-tax dollars for those daycare or child care expenses. Keep in mind, summer camps are definitely eligible as long as they are day camps. So if you're dropping them off in the morning, picking them up in the afternoon, you can use it for that as well. All right, so dental coverage. You guys have a DHMO and then 2 PPOs to choose from for your dental coverage through MetLife. There are no changes to these plans. It is the same 3 plans that you guys have access to now. As a reminder, the DHMO requires you assign a primary care dentist. So that's who you have to see first, and they will refer you to a specialist if you need to see one. It is in network only, so you have to see that PCP doctor and then whoever they tell you to. You can't choose which dentist you want to see. It's scheduled benefits, and then it will cost less out of your paycheck. Whereas the PPO plans, you don't need to choose a primary care dentist, you don't need to get referrals, and we offer a high and low plan. And the high plan is you can choose any dentist you would like, so in or out of network, it doesn't matter. The low plan, you need to stay in the network, otherwise you'll get a really big bill. Okay, so let's look at the benefits themselves. And as I mentioned, we're not making any changes to these plans. So the DHMO, you can see there's no deductible, there's a $5 copay per office visit. And then you have kind of a list of how everything is covered. So like a filling would be $80, a crown would be $500, just depends on the service you have done as to how much it will cost. Now the high and low PPO plans, the way those work is that your preventive care is covered at 100%. So your cleanings, x-rays, exams, 100% covered. If you need something more serious done, you know, filling, root canal, crown, those are going to fall under either basic or major services, and they'll be covered after you pay a $50 deductible. So you'll just pay that deductible once during the year. And then if you choose that low plan where you have to stay in network, remember, find a network provider, your basic services will be covered at 100% and your major services will be covered at 60%. You pay 40. If you choose the high plan where you can choose any dentist you want, you would then have basic services covered at 80%, you pay 20, or major services covered at 50, you pay 50. Both of these benefits have orthodontia for your children. It's a 50% benefit up to $1,000 per lifetime, or $1,000 off braces is kind of an easier way to look at it. All right, so for vision coverage, no changes to this plan either. This is through VSP. It makes sense to stay in the network for the vision coverage. You get more bang for your buck. And it's a $20 copay for your exam and a $20 copay for your materials. Materials are going to be your lenses and frames. You're not going to get any frames you want for that $20 copay, right? They give you a $130 allowance. Anything above that, they will give you a discount on. And then you can also either choose contacts or glasses. So if you choose the contact lens benefit, you get a $130 allowance for your contacts. And then keep in mind, you can get an eye exam every calendar year, new lenses, either contacts or lenses for your frames every calendar year, and new frames every other calendar year. All right, so finally, I wanted to remind you guys that you have access to Gallagher's Benefit Advocate Center. We're here to help you with any issues you have on the plan. So claim issues, benefit questions, maybe you have a hard time getting a prescription pre-authorized, whatever it is, please reach out to us. We do work for you guys, not for the insurance carriers. So we want to hear from you. Another thing is that we are doing away with the Alight benefit effective December 31st. So we want to make sure that you reach out to Gallagher. You do still have someone to advocate for you if you're having issues. We're there Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, and that's Central Standard Time. And then also know that your spouse could call. It doesn't have to be you as the employee. All right, so with that, we have come to the end of our presentation. Please reach out to Human Resources or Gallagher Benefits if you have any questions, and don't forget to enroll by November 14th.